So the weird thing about life in the NFL at this time of year is you can go away for a little bit, right? You can get sick, you can go on vacation. These are things that we've dealt with, you and I, in the Packers Roundtable podcast, and everything changes. Everything changes.
It don't stop, brother.
It keeps churning and burning. And we were just talking about, it seems like, the NFL playoffs and the Super Bowl. And now we've got guys that are on different teams. The whole league looks different, man. And it's only been, a month and a half since the Super Bowl? It's crazy.
It's unbelievable, man. The NFL is the greatest 12-month reality TV show of all time. There's drama, there's trades, there's backstabs, there's bad business deals. There's everything you could ever want. You can get it in the NFL. That's why we love it so much. That's why we have jobs, brother.
Yeah, this offseason has felt kind of more offseason than normal too, with all the stuff that's been going on. And we're going to get into. I'd love to hear your reactions to like the Max Crosby thing. And
we're going to get into it.
We're going to do that at the end of the show. Speaking of drama, I do want to point this out before we get going on into Packers land. I just read a report from ESPN. So the referee union and the NFL are negotiating right now. They've got a CBA that's about to come up. Mm-hmm. The replacement refs may be coming back, bro. The replacement refs may be coming back, and Packers fans have been on the wrong end of that. Do you remember the Fail Mary?
I remember it's the Fail Mary, right? Or
so Packers fans were on the positive side of plenty of Hail Marys with Aaron Rodgers. That was the Fail Mary with the Seahawks when Russell Wilson threw it up to Golden Tate in the corner of the end zone. Tate had his hands on the ball. Three Packers had their hands on the ball. And there's this still from that game where one ref is saying interception, one ref is saying touchdown. And those I was doing some research on those refs. Some of those refs were high school referees that the NFL just brought in, man.
Unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I mean, guys like me and you throwing flags on
in an NFL football game, bro. Can you believe that?
That is out of control. So they may be bringing him back because the refs are going to go on strike?
We might have another ref lockout, which means they're already looking at kind of lower division 3 and 2.
Oh, what is this?
Yeah, this is. I think it's breaking news. It just came across this Thursday night, the 18th. So I imagine this is going to continue to be a story as we go on over the next couple weeks here.
It absolutely is. That is bad news. That is bad news on our first show back in a while.
Yeah, bad news. Hopefully they'll play it out. The one thing I did hear, Adam Schefter was reporting that the owners aren't too happy about this, and of course they're not happy, right? This impacts their bottom line.
Yeah.
But I think it's just to the point you made. Drama, man, drama. It wouldn't surprise me at all if Goodell didn't care. Hey, man, this just gets people talking. It gets
people talking. It gets the NFL back in the news cycle. Pat McAfee's going to be talking about it tomorrow. I'll probably have a story on it on some platform. You'll read about it on Packers. Bang! It's stories on stories on stories on stories.
And the machine keeps on churning, man. The machine keeps on churning. Well, a lot has happened for the Green Bay Packers since you and I last talked, and what I wanted to do today, and what we've kind of tabbed this show as, since we've had a couple weeks off. This is kind of our big free agency recap. Now, there's absolutely, I'm sure there's still some little signings that can happen in the next couple days, but a lot of the main pieces have fallen. For the Packers, there's been a lot of changes. So we're going to start with topic number one. Multiple players have left Green Bay in free agency. Now, we knew that this was going to happen. We knew that there wasn't a ton of money. They had multiple players that they had already kind of started anticipating through draft picks that this guy's going to leave in 2026 offseason. So I'm not saying this as a bad thing. It just kind of is what it is. You can't keep everybody, and that's part of being a good team is you've got good players that end up being paid and going elsewhere. So what I want to do, Anthony, is just talk about some of these guys who have left and kind of see what your thoughts are on them. Okay?
Yeah, I love it.
So
I love it.
let's start out with the big one, and I don't want to go too in depth just yet, but Malik Willis ended up signing with the Dolphins, and we're gonna have a segment kind of mid-show where we really break down is he gonna work out in Miami? But what were your initial thoughts there? Because I know you wanted him in Cleveland.
Yep.
The Jets were maybe an option. I'm happy he didn't wind up in Minnesota because that was another option. So just initial thoughts on Malik Willis.
Yeah, just the initial thought is like, man, like timing is everything, and when you're in the NFL. He had 35 pass attempts last year and played in 2 games, had 2 rushing touchdowns, and he got paid a boatload of money because he looked good, right? He looked really, really good, but he was the best option in this free agency. And for teams like you said, from a Cleveland perspective, I know myself, Browns fans everywhere really wanted to get their hands on Malik Willis because he has some of those traits. Yeah, man, I just wish that, I wish that I could have been a solid quarterback at the right time because that's what it would have taken to get $40 million a year. But no, pumped for him. And it kind of felt like writing was on the wall. Like once it went final, it was like I felt silly for even believing that there was a chance that he'd come play in Cleveland because it was like Jeff Hafley goes down there. Obviously, they're getting rid of Tua. It's tailor-made for him, and he goes down there.
And let's not forget that, and I don't remember the guy's name off the top of the hand, but he was in the front office for the Packers. Now he's the new general manager down in Miami. So there was a connection there. Number 2, I'm really interested to hear your thoughts on Romeo Doubs. We've watched this guy a lot over the last year. I believe with Doubs, he's a good wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 combo player, right? There's times where he could step up. I've never seen him as just like, oh, he's your number 1 guy. But he's now with the New England Patriots. I think there's a pretty nice fit there with Drake May and playing with Vrabel, and he seems pretty pumped to be there.
It's a really good fit, in my opinion. And, they lose out, or they don't lose out. They cut Stephon Diggs, so there's a natural fit that goes in there. Diggs was more so their 1, but the way I followed New England fairly closely. One of my best friends is on the coaching staff there, so I had my eye on them pretty closely, and they really didn't have like a legit 1. Like the Diggs was that guy, but they, very similar to the Packers, were just good players everywhere. Mac Hollins had a good year. Pop Douglas had a really good year for them. Stephon Diggs was solid. So they kind of spread it out. And that's what made Drake really good, is that he didn't have to lock on to one guy. He just could kind of let that thing fly and just throw it to the open receiver. And they're going to try to continue that because I think you're not a lot of folks share the same sentiment about Romeo Doubs that, hey, this isn't, you didn't go out and sign prime Randy Moss, right? You signed a very good player, a guy who can make big catches, score touchdowns, but it's not going to be a true number 1. I think he fits seamlessly out in New England. And I think it's a really good decision by him and a good move for him.
And it kind of seems like they're trying to do what the Packers are doing, at least in wide receiver land, is that, maybe you don't have your Randy Moss, speaking of a great Patriot, but you've got just a couple good guys. I think they've got a pretty good tight end over there. And
Hunter Henry.
And that's kind of what the Packers are doing on offense too, is you've got your young quarterback and you've got a couple of nice weapons. Maybe nobody's your standout, but you've got a great tight end. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a nice fit there. It's almost like he's gone to a Green Bay-esque situation, right?
It's Green Bay of the AFC, man. It's literally Green Bay of the AFC, and it's a really good spot for him. And the good part is, and we'll talk about Malik in a little bit, but that's going to a team that's set up to be successful for years to come. Mm-hmm. He's going there to be a really contributing piece on a team that should be good, not just next year, but for a couple of years after it. So I think he's setting up in a really, really nice spot.
All right, let's move on. Quay Walker. I wanted Quay Walker back with the Packers. Mm-hmm. He's a former first-round pick. He's grown with them, and I love athletic linebackers that can kind of just be thumpers and get north and south. So he ended up signing with the Raiders, who had just a crazy offseason. But he got a lot of money from the Raiders. 3-year deal. Let's see here, 3-year, $40.5 million. So he got paid. The Packers weren't going to be able to pay him that kind of money. No. Do you just have initial thoughts on Quay Walker? They signed Nakobe Dean. I think the Raiders are building something that looks like it could be interesting. And I know you like their new head coach.
Dude, love Kubiak, the head coach, and all of their They go and overspend. So they overspent everywhere, right? Spending that much on Quay Walker is an overspend. Giving Ty Linderbaum $27 million a year is an overspend. But that's like the name of the free agency game, right? That you're not going to get anybody on a discount because another team's going to swoop in and pay him more. So you are going to overspend a bit. And the Raiders did that, I think, at multiple levels. Certainly shared the same sentiment. Wanted Quay back for the Packers, but at that price tag, no way. And that's why you got to develop. You got to draft guys that'll fill in behind him. But for the Raiders, man, like you had the money, you have the money. Give your rookie quarterback a great center. Give him a really great defense. Try to give him 2 more draft picks. Get those 2 draft picks, or no, try to give him 2 more draft picks. Send those back for an elite pass rusher. And maybe, just maybe, I'm not going to say they're going to go win the AFC West and take down the Broncos and the Chiefs, but maybe just maybe they can string together a couple wins if Fernando Mendoza is what he's projected to be. Then you're starting to build something there, and I think that is I really like the Raiders offseason. It's hard not to like it, but I really love it what they've been doing.
I also wonder though, are we being prisoners of the moment? Because you always get. It seems like every year we get excited about that one team that goes out and spends so much money.
Okay, so it's so funny you say that. I was just recording another show about an hour and a half before yours or before this one, and we were talking about that exactly. Like the teams that are successful build their teams through the draft and then like are very like picky and choosy in free agency in this period. Think Denver Broncos, right? Where they maybe have one signing, they re-sign a couple guys and they go make a splash trade, but they're fairly quiet. It's teams like the Browns that are signing everybody and teams like the Raiders who are signing 15 guys and are overpaying. And you're like, yeah, really good offseason. And then they go out on the field and they can't tie their shoes together. So it is a fascinating way to look at this, look at the free agency market too.
Couple more names to talk about, and we don't need to break down everything. Rasheed Walker, tackle. He was a former 6th-round pick. Ended up on a 1-year deal with the Panthers. So a lot of people thought he might be the top free agent out there. I saw him listed as number 1 somewhere, and he ended up going multiple days into free agency and signing kind of a 1-year deal. Probably just wants to try to reset his market there.
Literally a prove it deal, man. That was the biggest surprise. You thought he was going to get crazy tackle money. He got a prove it deal, and that's a peculiar one. That one caught my attention for sure.
Nate Hobbs was released, and that was a big deal because they gave him a $48 million contract last offseason. Clearly just felt like, hey, he's not the guy. We're just going to move on and cut our losses. Now, the one guy that I'm wondering your thoughts on is Elton Jenkins, because this is a guy who's a multi-time Pro Bowler. He could play center, guard, and tackle, and now he's in the dog pound, man. So how do you guys feel about Elton Jenkins?
I think very similar to how Packers fans felt about him, right? A good player, but coming off a major injury. The good part is the injury was, a break. It wasn't like a ligament thing like an ACL or Achilles, right? He just broke his leg. He broke his leg. So that tends to heal a little bit easier. But Cleveland had to basically rebuild their entire offensive line. They let literally all 5 of their starters go from last year, and they're rebuilding from square one. And he's a piece that he's either going to play guard or center, depending on what Joel Bitonio does. It looks like Joel Bitonio is going to leave. So Cleveland fans are very excited about him and really don't view him as like, oh my God, savior, we're going to the Super Bowl now because we signed Elton Jenkins, but a very nice piece that if healthy, could be a really good addition for the Browns team.
Yep. Going down the list here, I don't think we can hit everybody. Kingsley Enagbare, he signed with the Jets on a 1-year, $10 million deal. He was a backup defensive end for the Packers. I would have liked to keep a backup guy who's shown some upside on a $10 million deal, but good for him for getting paid. Colby Wooden was traded to the Colts, and we'll talk about the return there. The last big one, we talked multiple times about Rashawn Gary as a guy who likely was going to end up getting cut. And so I don't know what it is about Jerry Jones and Brian Gutekunst, man, but they got a nice little connection because Jones decided to give the Packers a 4th-round pick for a guy that they were going to cut, dude. A guy that they were going to cut.
They were cutting him, and Jerry said, I'll take him.
Nah,
I'll take him. You want a 4th rounder?
Yeah. Incredible. Incredible.
Unbelievable. What a good move by Gunther Kuntz and to get him and to move him for a pick. I mean, that's massive, but it does feel like Jerry's got his number on speed dial. Like, oh, you guys want to make a deal? We want to make a deal today? What's going on?
How about I'll never forget when he called Micah Parsons Michael Parsons. That'll live. Michael Parsons, bro. That'll live forever in the lore of NFL history. So that's kind of the who's out segment. Now let's talk about who has come in, and it's not as big of a list, and we knew that would be the case. Yeah. But there were several players that at least I feel have an interesting opportunity here in Green Bay. So first, the big one I want to talk about is literally a big one. It's Javon Hargrave, who's a big defensive tackle. The nice part about him, so they got him when the Vikings cut him, but this is a guy who actually played with Jonathan Gannon in Philadelphia. Jonathan Gannon was the defense coordinator there. He had 2 great seasons under Jonathan Gannon, so I think it's a really nice fit. There was a need there, especially with Wooden going out to Indianapolis. Do you have any thoughts on Hargrave?
Yeah, there's a really good sense of comfort. Comfort's the wrong word, but you get excited when your team's going out and signing like interior linemen and interior defensive linemen, because it's like, all right, hey, we're solidifying the foundation of the team, the line of scrimmage. So that part's good. What I really do love, Andrew, is when a team goes out and gets guys with new coaches who they're familiar with. Right. I love that. Like, hey, I coached you in Philly, or I coached you in Arizona, or name the place, name the player. That part fires me up. And I really like that Jonathan Gannon came in and immediately went and got a former player of his.
Last season with the Vikings, Hargrave, who checks in at 6'2", 305 pounds. So he's a big dude, but he can move. He had 3.5 sacks, a forced fumble last season. But really what you're looking at if you're the Packers is in 2021 with Jonathan Gannon as his defensive coordinator, he notched 63 tackles and 7.5 sacks. For a big guy who plays 1 technique, 3 technique, that's a lot of sacks for a big dude. I think we sometimes forget, when you see these defensive ends putting up 20 sacks, if you're looking at a defensive tackle who could put 5-6 sacks on boards, that's elite in my opinion.
Elite, and you're stopping the run, and we're going to get to it in a little bit. But in the NFC North, like, hey, having a really good interior is one of the things, man, that you need. And he's familiar with the North, and he stays in it. You go into Green Bay.
Yep. We mentioned Colby Wooden traded to the Colts, and coming back is Zaire Franklin, who's a really interesting story. I thought this is a guy who was a 7th round draft pick, worked his way up through special teams in Indianapolis to become a starting linebacker. I think there's a lot to like about him. Can you say that essentially they've gotten rid of Quay Walker and they've replaced him with Zaire Franklin as a 1-for-1? I think that's really all you're trying to do, and that works for me.
It absolutely works for me, and that's the right way. That's the proper way to look at it, is kind of that 1-for-1. And what did he say in his opening press conference? Heard you guys needed a big dog, and the big dog's here, or something like that. Is that? Yeah. Did I nail it? Whatever it was pretty cool. But I really like it. Franklin's a versatile player. And a guy who's going to, really be a real big part of this Packers defense that needs it. And like you said, takes over for Quay Walker right away. And I think that's a really, really good addition. And you do it via trade. So you got a really valuable piece.
Yeah. What I like about this guy, and I don't know him, obviously, I didn't follow his career in Indianapolis, but what I heard about him, you talk about the big dogs here, right? Like, I heard this dude just has that grit and that kind of that nastiness. And that's something that's being lost in today's NFL. But
for sure,
if you want a guy who's just going to bite somebody's head off and talk trash, that's what I want in a linebacker.
Heck yeah, that's what you want a linebacker. And he's a guy, like you said, he not only has that, but he's got it for the right reason. 7th round pick, worked his way up, did it the right way, and knows what it's like to literally play desperate, and because he's got to put food on the table.
There's 2 different types of chips on a shoulder that you can have as a player, I've learned. The first is the Johnny Manziel chip, which is not a good one, where it's just kind of like it's there because you're just a douche, you know.
Yeah.
And then there's the chip when you're a seventh round draft pick and you work your way up through special teams, and that's the one you want in your players, where they had to grind their way to the top and nothing was given to them, you know.
Absolutely.
So excited to see what he can do. Sean Ryan, so he was a guard. The Packers moved him to center to replace your guy now, Elton Jenkins, when he went down. And you can make a case that they got better at center. So I'm happy that he's back. Do you have any thoughts on Sean Ryan? I know that, you know, it's pretty nerdy to start breaking down interior offensive linemen. I'm just happy to have a little bit of consistency at center. And as a quarterback, I would imagine you think that's pretty important.
That's exactly what it is. If he didn't have a good relationship with Jordan Love, guess what? He wouldn't be back. And it's very clear that is the case. That he obviously came in and played really good ball, but built that rapport, built that chemistry with his quarterback. Really good. Just like you said, just to keep some familiarity, keep that a little bit of consistency up front in this time of right now, that time of change, right? Prisoner of the moment type stuff. Everything's kind of up in arms right now, but you keep a little familiarity up front. And I think that's always a good thing.
The Packers signed Benjamin St. Juste. I believe that's how you say his name. 2-year, $10 million. He's a corner. He's going to be kind of a depth corner for them. The other signing that I really like, and I'd like to get your thoughts on it, is Sky Moore. This is a guy who became quite an elite returner on special teams with the 49ers. And how often over the past 6 months have we talked about special teams and how important it is? And you can at least give the Packers credit for going out and making an investment in a guy who can really work on field position for him.
There's no question. I mean, every game, it didn't matter what team you're talking about, what game you're talking about, right? Like special teams is a third of the football game, and you have to approach it as such. The teams that do it win football games. Look at the Seattle Seahawks. They invest on the special teams, right? They paid their punter, they paid their kicker, they paid their return, Rasheed Walker. Now the Packers do something similar. They go get Sky Moore just to return kicks, and that's a huge thing. He'll contribute a bit on the offensive side, but his main focus will be returning. And like I think that's so big, Andrew, because special teams cost the Packers several times last year, and they're obviously, at least at the start, doing something to address it.
I feel a little bit validated, because
How about you?
I often said special teams is killing this team. And what has happened over the past couple months, the special team coordinator basically said, you know what, I'm out of here. Because and the reporting was he felt like he failed. He felt like he was failing his head coach and Matt LaFleur. And then for them to go out and make such a this is clearly a special teams addition, bringing in Sky Moore. So to me, I feel redeemed. There was issues and I saw them, and clearly, maybe Matt or Gutekunst and LaFleur should give me a call.
Call the guy up. He knows what he's seeing.
Or at least, come join the Packers Roundtable community.
Come on, get in the pod, get into the site, get here. Damn it. Get here now.
There's a lot of other small, bringing back guys. Jonathan Ford, Brenton Cox Jr., he's a defensive end. He's going to be a depth piece. Darren Kinnard is going to be your swing tackle. So a couple other small signings like that. Every team's going to have some small, and not to discount these guys, right? But these are depth players. The thing with depth is you need it in the NFL. So, all these little, 1 year signing 10 mil, 1 year, 2 mil, that all adds up to a Super Bowl team if you do it right. So
if you do it right, man, that's the thing. You just got to nail it. You just got to hit it.
All right. So you're our quarterback here. So I really want to go back to Malik Willis. And there's really it's boom or bust for the Dolphins, is it not? Because they're taking quite a risk. This is a guy who's got just a handful of starts in the NFL, and they're paying him to be a top 10 quarterback now.
Dude, I think both sides are taking an incredible risk. And we can start on the Dolphin side, where it's like,
okay,
I think that the Dolphins are actually less of a risk, because they're very, very, very clearly in rebuild mode. They have $170 million in dead money next year. That's money that's being paid to players that are not on their team, that's against the cap. They have like 100 draft picks. They just traded Jalen Waddle. Like they are in very clear rebuild mode. And if you're in that case, you're like, all right, hey, why don't we just roll a quarterback out there? We'll pay him some money. It's not going to hurt us. We're definitely just like watching these next couple of years. And if he turns out to be all right, we'll keep him. And if he's not all right, guess what? We're going to have a first round or, a top 5 draft pick, tomorrow next year. So you're like, all right, let's go. Like this is a very low risk on their side. Yeah, it's a little coin, but it's not very, in my opinion, it's not very risky. On Malik's side, what are you doing, dude? Because, man, like his options weren't the best teams in the NFL. But he decided to go to the team that is in, like I said, in very clear rebuilding mode, that they are not trying to win right now. They are simply not trying to win football games. And he just signed up there for like probably his last chance to really be a starter in this league. And that's where he's hitching his wagon. That part to me is tough.
Could you make the case though that he just got let me see here, a 3-year deal worth $67.5 million, and now he can go hang out in Miami for 3 years? Like, that doesn't sound all too bad for a career change,
Going from Green Bay, Wisconsin to South Beach probably doesn't suck. But if his goal is to be one of the great NFL quarterbacks or be a long starter,
you imagine it is with the way that he prepares and plays. It sounds like being a competitive quarterback is important to him.
Man, and definitely don't go to the Jets. Cleveland's not in a good situation, but like you said, I don't know. I don't know if Minnesota came calling. I don't know what his market was behind the closed doors, but man, it does feel like he's like, all right, I'm going to get this. I'm going to take the biggest bag, and that's in Miami, and we're going to figure out what happens. And I don't know. It's just very tough to go there to a team that's very clearly not trying to win football games next year.
So if you're Miami, and it really kind of piqued my ears up a little bit when you're talking about, well, let's pay Malik Willis a little bit of money and see if he's good. He's good. If he's not, he's not. If they're rebuilding, then why are you spending $68 million on a quarterback when you can go get a Mac Jones, and Andy Dalton even, and just so if Malik Willis is your bridge quarterback, why are you giving a bridge quarterback $68 million? They must believe that he can be their franchise quarterback. And
that's true.
That's my thought there. And maybe they've got, with the I think it's John Eric Sullivan is their new GM. That's the guy from the Packers. Hafley. If there's anybody who was to have the inside track and knowledge of who Malik Willis really is, you'd think it would be those two.
Definitely. And I would say on the flip side of that, the way that I'm talking about the Dolphins is if you're going to have $175 million in dead money and trade away your best receiver, why are you paying 67 to go get a quarterback?
Right.
Something's not, it's just, what I mean? Something doesn't add up with the deal. And it's okay, and maybe Andrew, maybe it is you're right too. Hey, Malik, we're gonna eat this. We're gonna eat this year. We have 3 first-round picks next year, this year and next year. Now after this trade with Waddle, we're gonna go give you all young talent, young weapons. Bear with us for 1 season, and then we're coming back strong, and we're gonna try to turn this thing around right away with you at the helm. And that would be a damn good sales pitch. Hey, go hang out at the beach for a year. And don't deal with any snow, and then come back and let's go win a bunch of football games.
The other thing I can see is you've got an organization and a general manager who are probably all on the same page saying, listen, we're tearing this thing down. But you've got a head coach who just came from chasing Super Bowls in Green Bay, and you're going to tell him, hey, listen, we're going to take a couple years to do this thing. He probably said, I need a quarterback who can go win me some football games. So there might be, and you'd be a great person to talk about this. There might be, not because your team sucks a lot. There might be some strife between the head coach that says we need to win, and between kind of the business side of things that says, hey, we need to tear this thing down and start from the studs.
Andrew, it's two competing philosophies. A coach is never going to tank. A coach is never going to tank, and a GM is always going to want a better draft pick. They are two They have two agendas. That's two competing agendas going head to head. And that's the nature of the business, right? And when you get two guys that are on the same wavelength, that's good, right? Hey, we're going to agree to do this. And that agreement is good for year one. That agreement's probably good for year two. And then year three, the coach is like, I'm getting antsy, dude. Can I get some players? And then people are starting to talk about how bad of a coach he is. And all of a sudden he gets fired. And you're like, you gave me nothing. I've had no players for the last 3 years, and I'm supposed to win. It's two very opposite perspectives on what to do, and that's just the nature of how these teams are built.
So you're an AFC North guy. We're in the NFC North here, though, with the Packers, and there's been a lot of change that we've talked about just from a Packers perspective, but the rest of the division has changed as well. The Bears, they ended up losing DJ Moore. Well, not losing him; they traded him. So that's a pretty big thing that they did there. They bring in Kobe Bryant, not the great NFL player, but a safety. They bring in Devin Bush, who I've always liked. Yeah. They bring in a center, Garrett Bradbury, and offensive line is a place where they tried to get very, very strong last offseason. So they're improving there. Let's see. Let's move on over to Minnesota, where they've brought in a quarterback in Kyler Murray, who has kind of been he's been kind of a laughingstock in Arizona, but they've got a coach over there who knows how to coach up quarterbacks, man. And I'd be, as a Packers fan, I'm worried you put Kyler Murray with Kevin O'Connell, and that's always a team that's going to be a thorn in the side of the Packers anyhow. So
Andrew, they were 9-8 last year with JJ McCarthy leading the charge. Like, if they just get
with freaking Max Brosmer had playing games, man.
It's unreal, man. And you're right. KOC is the guy who would get it right, and get the best out of Kyler Murray, which is a scary prospect for Packer fans.
And you have the Packers, who they're clearly kind of their whole game is development, right? We're going to develop. We're going to hope Jordan Love takes one more step to get to that elite category. I think they're putting a lot of playoff hopes on Jordan Love being an MVP type quarterback. I think the Lions are taking a step backward. They haven't done anything in free agency. What are your thoughts on just in general where the Packers stand right now? Right now, to me, it seems like we're kind of in a three-way tie between the Bears, the Vikings, and let's see kind of how things shake out over the course of the season.
It's kind of fun, isn't it, Andrew, where all three of those teams are trying to actively win, right? There's three teams that are trying to make runs, like deep runs into the playoffs. The Bears have their eyes set on an NFC Championship game. The Vikings feel like, man, if we had Sam Darnold, we'd be Super Bowl champions. Yeah. The Packers all the same. Hey, we were so close.
If Micah Parsons was healthy, if Tucker Kraft was healthy.
And how cool is that, where it's like all of these teams are all feeling that and feeling that level of we can go now. Makes it fun, makes it super competitive. Now, where do the Packers stand? I think that, I don't love, honestly, where they stand. I really like what, Chicago's got to feel pretty good. Well, actually, no, I don't know, man. I actually think Minnesota might have the most excitement around him because they bring Kyler in. If he's got something, and they're reportedly shopping JJ McCarthy around right now. So it's are they, where do they stand?
What are you going to get for JJ is the question,
4th round pick, 5th round pick. But it's all right, if they can turn Kyler into something, then that unlocks Justin Jefferson again. And then maybe that defense gets to be really, really good again. It's all right, they're going to be a tough team to beat. Yeah. Man, I don't know. What do you think?
What, Detroit, for as quiet as their offseason has been, they still have a great, Jahmyr Gibbs is one of the best running backs in the NFL. Amon-Ra St. Brown is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. Jared Goff is a guy who's played in the Super Bowl. I think, as with anything, it's going to come down to which quarterback is going to be elite in this division. Is it going to be, if Kevin O'Connell can unlock Kyler Murray and bring him back to that level where he was kind of a top 10 quarterback, then that really worries me. Is Caleb is he for real in Chicago, right? Yeah. That's the question. And then is Jordan Love, is he a top 15 guy or is he a top 5 guy? Those are I think the three biggest questions that are going to determine what the NFC North looks like this year. Not to mention, and I hate to count him out, Dan Campbell's a hell of a coach. Jared Goff is a good quarterback. it could be another season of just scrappy NFC North play where it would not surprise me if they had 3 teams in the playoffs again. And, we've seen that a couple times here in the past few years. So
no doubt.
As with anything, though, in the NFL, it comes down to which quarterback is going to be kind of the leader of this division. And I think they very well could have 4 great quarterbacks.
Yeah, you really could. And it's going to be a ton of fun the way that this division is starting to take shape. And, like we said, every one of them, all 4 teams have their eyes set on the playoffs. All 4 teams probably have their eyes set on NFC Championship and beyond. And that's a really cool spot. You got no tankers in this division. You got no teams who are just going to coast by. Like every single week, you're going to have to strap it up and let's go. And that's going to make for some fun football.
This ain't no AFC East, man. This is the NFC North.
Yeah, baby.
Boomer. God, what's his name? John Berman. He used to call it the NFC Norris. And that always stuck with me. Did you ever used to watch NFL primetime, when he would do
it's Chris Berman, you dummy.
Berman, whatever,
Chris Berman. You just called the Schwami John.
John Berman.
John Berman.
Chris Berman, John Berman. John Madden. Who knows, dude?
Who knows?
All right, let's talk real quick. I just want to get some general reactions to this. Like we talked about at the beginning of the show, just kind of an off-season, right? The big news obviously was that trade sent of Max Crosby going to the Ravens and then them basically saying, "Oh, I'm good." That directly impacts your world there, man. What were your thoughts on that?
I thought Rappaport, because I thought Schefter and Rappaport got hacked. I honestly did. I remember seeing it. And I'm like, that's not true. And then putting my phone down and then was it true? And I looked at, I'm like, oh my God, that's very true. Just what bullshit business by the Ravens. They make the trade and then they watch Trey Hendrickson. They watch his value decrease and they're like, we don't really give up 1st-round picks for players. They gave up 2 for Crosby. And then they find this loophole. Did you watch his most recent podcast episode where he talked about what it was like when he was in Baltimore this past week? Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw a little bit. They made him drive there from DC.
2.5 hours. Yeah. He didn't see DaCosta, the GM, for 5 hours while he was going through the building. And when he shook his hand and Minter's hand, he's like, the energy was weird.
They knew, man. They knew.
Dude, it's such bullshit. It's they're going to sit here and say, oh, we wanted both, or we were in on both guys, blah, 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 all that stuff. No, you acted in bad faith. You did bad business, and they'll never be punished for it, but you just hope that Max Crosby gets the last laugh in that one. Maybe he gets a game against the Ravens at some point and gets 15 sacks on Lamar Jackson.
What the average fan, I don't think, realizes, or let's not even say average fan, just the general watcher of the NFL, because I think the average fan nowadays is pretty plugged in. But just somebody who tunes in on a Sunday, right? Yeah. They don't realize that these teams, they know what these guys had for breakfast 2 weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
So to say that they traded for a guy and then, oh my gosh, this injury, it just wasn't as, they knew exactly where he was injury wise when they made that trade. So it sounds like your impression is it was all a ruse, really bad.
Oh, it's such a ruse. And a lot of the guys, the NFL guys who are in front of microphones now talk about, hey, when these trades happen, the first people that talk are both doctors. The Ravens doctor talks to the Raiders doctor, and that's the first conversation that happens. All right, here you go. Here's was the surgery. Here's all this medical.
Especially with somebody who had injury history.
Yes, and so for them to be like, ooh, that those X-rays didn't look, or that MRI didn't look all that good. Shut up, man. That's BS. That's BS.
Yep. We already talked about our guy Malik Willis going to the Dolphins. I think that was really probably the second biggest free agency period news.
Yeah.
I think also, and I'd like to just hear what you think here, I think Kenneth Walker going to the Chiefs is a pretty big deal because they're going to want to try to protect Mahomes as much as they can coming off that injury. And that's just you give Andy Reid an elite quarterback and an elite running back, and he can piecemeal that team right back to the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah, he can. And that the Seahawks paying the Super Bowl tax is tough. They lost a lot of guys That
happens, man. That happens.
That's like the name of the game, man. That's what happens, and that's been interesting. I think the Bills are. What did you think of the DJ Moore trade?
I can't say that I really care what the Bills are doing right now because I've kind of lost faith in the Bills as a top tier AFC organization at the moment.
I don't know. It made no sense. Like DJ Moore's been like very declining. Like he's still solid. He's a fine player. They gave a second round pick for him, and he's got 3 years left on his deal. They expect him to be good for like the next couple of years and be the answer for Josh Allen. It's dude, what the hell?
It seems like the Bills are always a day too late when it comes to some of these wide receivers, right? They get them on that second go around where they just don't have them in that elite form anymore. And, I don't know why they're like that. DJ Moore, I know, made the big touchdown against the Packers last time they played, but I think it was actually that first game, not the playoff game. But
it wasn't the playoff game. It was to go to the playoffs.
Yeah. But he was never the guy I was worried about really on that offense, right? He was never the guy that you're like, oh my gosh, DJ Moore. I was more worried about Rome Odunze. I was more worried about what Caleb Williams could do with their tight end. Mm-hmm. And maybe that's the impact of DJ Moore is you don't think about him, and then he sneaks in. And,
There you go. Still think he's a fine player. That trade was weird. The Rams redoing their secondary and just saying screw their first round picks and going and getting Trent McDuffie, I think was huge for them.
As long as they could stay healthy on offense, as long as Matt Stafford could stay healthy, and as long as Puka Nacua could stay healthy, they've got a chance to win another Super Bowl.
You know what I'm fascinated by, and I want to get your opinion on this because it's a low level trade, but the Justin Fields to Kansas City I think is interesting because you talk about Andy Reid being creative with running backs.
Yeah,
I'll bet my next 5 mortgage payments that there's going to be packages in the low red zone or third and short where Patrick Mahomes
3rd and 4
are on the field.
Yeah, 3rd and 4, and then it's we're going to see the old Wildcat come back or something like that.
Or Fields is going to be right next to Mahomes. And
Fields is a good enough athlete. You could put him out wide receiver.
Screw it. Yeah. Line him up on the outside. I think that one was interesting. It's been so fun, man. Like the storylines are great. Every day, you never know what's happening. Yeah. I think free agency is a ton of fun. It reminds me of the days when I had the time to play Madden and you could you could change a team around and do all that stuff. It's like, hell yeah. Like this is and then getting ready for the draft is awesome, man. There's some really good prospects that are a lot to be excited about.
Yep, we are now officially, I'd say, you could say the official kickoff is the combine, but April 23rd is the start of the draft. So we're just under a month.
Yeah, 5. Well, just about a month. Yep.
Lots to talk about from Packers' perspective. Again, they don't have a first-round pick, and that's because Micah Parsons was their first-round pick, and I'm going to keep coming back to that for the next year or two because
that'll be our draft night show with the first-round selection. The Green Bay Packers select
Micah Parsons.
Coming off of a knee injury, but a good selection.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting to talk. I'm definitely this free agency period has definitely healed my football heart, and now I'm ready.
The most important question of the night.
Yeah.
Have you made a bracket yet? Will you make a bracket?
No, I will not make a bracket.
Why?
I'm out on brackets, man. I'm out. I'm going to tell you, this is just me and you and whoever the heck is watching. Over the years, I have tried fantasy football. I've tried putting some money down on FanDuel or whatever. I've tried doing the brackets, thinking I'm a smart guy. I get paid to write about sports, and I've not won a single thing over the years. So I just decided, maybe it's a pride thing, or maybe I've got 4 kids, man. I can't be wasting money. So I've got people hitting me up for $10 right now to try to put a bracket together. I need that $10.
I need that $10, man. Yeah. He needs the $10. Let the man live, man.
Not in this economy. Not in this economy. So
not in this economy.
I'm happy to watch March Madness, but I'm not throwing my money away on it anymore.
All right, boo! You're great.
We'll talk. We'll be in the thick of March Madness next time we talk. So maybe we can do a little tournament talk next time, and we'll start ramping up our draft talk because it's coming up.
Baby. So, it's coming.
So start doing your homework. I've been doing my homework, and we'll get there. But I feel like we're back, man. We're back, and
good. Feels good, dude. Feels good to have you back.
We're back in business. The off season is it's full throttle now. So pretty soon here, we're going to be talking OTAs and the rest is history. So I'm excited for that. Anthony, good talk, good show, man. And to all the listeners, all the viewers, watchers, subscribers, everybody who comments, even the people who comment and say that we suck, which happens every now and then. We appreciate everything. So thank you all, and we'll talk to you again.